Hey guys, my name is Jen and I'm originally from Pukekohe, New Zealand, and I want to share my story or my testimony. I don't know how many times I've attempted to video this video. Yeah. Even today it's taken me, I don't know how many shots, how many times I've recorded this, tried to record this, and then I end up deleting it because it's not good enough or it's not polished enough or I'm not using the right words or whatever. So I've just had enough. I've had enough. So anyway, so this is my story. I'm sharing my story because there are so many people out in the world today that are going through so much, and it's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking. I see a lot of this on social media, in the communities, and yeah, it's so heartbreaking. So I wanted to share my story, because I'm not gloating or anything, but I have been on my spiritual journey for many years, and I've been through a lot, and I've been through some really dark times. I've been through a number of dark times. I think my whole life has been a series of lessons that I've had to learn, and so it's one of the reasons why I want to share my story, because I've been there. I've been at my lowest, and to be honest with you, I don't know how many times I shouldn't even be here, but I believe there's a reason. I believe in reasons, and I believe there's a reason why I'm here today, and that's to share my story and to share or help those who are currently going through their journeys, because everybody has got a journey, and that's why I believe that I went through all those lessons, all those experiences, and I've come out to where I am today in my healing journey. So that's the reason why, that's the only reason why I'm sharing this, because ordinarily I don't like cameras. Yeah. So that's why I'm here today, is to share my story, to share my experiences, and to and also too, because this is a part of my healing as well, is sharing my story. I guess I feel I've come full circle, and this is by sharing my story I would have come full circle pretty much. Another reason why I'm very nervous, if you haven't already, if you aren't already aware, is that I have a fear of being seen in front of a crowd, or in front of even the camera, and I also have a fear of using my voice. So that was another reason why it's taken me many takes to try and get this video out, and it's taken me a long time to actually want to sit down in front of a camera to speak to you and to share my story. So let's begin before I chicken out again. So like I said, my name is Jen. I'm originally from Pukekohe, New Zealand. I was brought up in a low-income family. I have my parents, mum and dad, and I've got 2 brothers as well. So I guess I'll start off at childhood, my childhood. Growing up as a child, I was very, very much very shy. I was very shy. I was very withdrawn, and I was different. I always felt different as a child, and I was also a loner, and I'm still a loner now. But when you're a child, all you want to do is just to be accepted, and I felt that I wasn't accepted. I don't know. Don't ask me how I know. I don't know. It's just like a knowing. So I was brought up in a low-income family. Both my parents worked full-time. My oldest brother, he went to stay with my grandparents, and it ended up to be permanent, so it was just my brother and I with my parents at home. So I don't remember a lot of my childhood. I know now that was because of the trauma that I went through as a child. So, when you experience trauma, your brain tries to block it out as a safety mechanism. So that's what happened with me with most of my childhood and most of my adulthood. I don't remember a lot. I remember bits and pieces, but not the details, the finer details. So as a child growing up, I always remember that my brother and I were always home by ourselves a lot because my parents worked. And we grew up in state housing. I think it was called Housing Corporation. So we were brought up in Housing Corp housing, and I didn't even realise this until much later in my adulthood. That I just thought that it was I don't know what I thought, but I didn't think it was state housing, because when we moved in there it was brand new, the house was brand new. So we were brought up in state housing, and a low income family. I remember as a child my parents couldn't afford a lot of things, so we didn't have any birthdays or any birthday presents, birthday parties. We didn't have any Christmas presents, for guy folks, we didn't have guy folks because my parents couldn't afford any of that. So we didn't have a lot growing up, and I just always thought as a child, I don't know what I thought actually. I just thought it was like, why don't we have these things? So that was my childhood. My mother, I remember my mother brought us up pretty much alone. My father, he liked to drink. He spent most of his time at the local pub. After work, he'd go straight to the pub, and then pretty much won't see him until he came home late at night. In our household, there was domestic violence. So, as kids we were brought up around domestic violence. My parents growing up didn't show a lot of affection. I think too because when they had us, they were young as well. I think my mum was 18 when she had my oldest brother. And my dad was 20, I think. So they were young as well. And back in those days, in the 70s, I don't know, I think it was a generation where, like when I used to speak to my mum, she would say that, she wasn't told by her mother how to, she wasn't taught by her mother how to look after children, and her mother didn't give her any advice how to do, how to look after kids or whatever, So she didn't have that advice from her mother or her father, and so I think she was trying to figure things out herself, So yeah, I just felt that when I was growing up that we didn't have that kind of closeness as a family. It wasn't. I don't remember it being a happy childhood. It was just. We were mostly in survival mode, so we. Survival mode. We were alone a lot because my parents worked, like I said before, and we didn't have a lot of things growing up as well. Being a low-income family as well, and with my father, not being home a lot, my mother was kind of left alone bringing us up. So I think that's probably, a big part of it was not knowing how to be a mother, because she wasn't, told by her mother as well. So I just think that my mother did the best that she could with us, and in the scheme of things, she did a good job. There just wasn't any emotions attached to that job, she just didn't show any affection or and so I think that's probably the reason why I don't show affection, because I wasn't taught that as a child. So I was also my mum didn't really speak up when she, I don't remember her standing up to my father, when he'll likely abuse her. I don't remember her, having the, I don't know if it was courage, but she probably wasn't too sure of herself anyway. So, she, I think she just did the best that she could with what she had and what very little that she knew, so, as a child I was shy. My brother was, he was, what should I say, he used to get into a lot of trouble as a child, whereas I was, I guess, the goody two-shoes. So, I remember my mum would say, don't go out or whatever, and I would stay put. I wouldn't even question it, whereas my brother would climb out the window, or, just little things like that. So, so I was, as a child, I was the highly sensitive, emotional one, and my brother was the what would you call my brother? He was the strong one, I guess. Yeah, so we had very different personalities, and I guess because I was highly sensitive and very emotional, I'm also an empath, trauma affected me deeply. Probably, I don't know how it affected my brother because we never really spoke about it. And yeah, so that's probably why I had such a traumatic childhood, because of who I was as a child, you know. So I didn't get abused by, like physically abused by my father. My mum used to, you know, whack us around. My brother got the beatings from my father, and yeah, so that was. I remember in the weekends we'd go to my grandparents' house, and for any, like for I don't know, birthdays or whatever. It was just, you know, it was good because we got to learn to be kids. Just got to be kids with all the cousins, you know, aunties and uncles and that. So that was good. But yeah, I do remember that I did feel that I had a traumatic childhood growing up, because I felt everything. I felt every emotion, and I don't mean surface level, I mean deeply. You know, like I said, because it's the type of person I am, because I'm an empath. So yeah, so that was my childhood, and so as a result of my childhood, I was I felt like I lost my voice, and also too because you know, growing up, my parents never really talked to us, never really had any conversations, didn't really speak to us. You know, we even like cooking, you know, my mother would just cook and would have to eat what was on the plate type of thing. If we didn't, then we'd starve. So it was quite a tough childhood, I think. Yeah. I lost my thought. But yeah. Oh yeah. So I grew up. I felt I had. I was a people pleaser all my life. You know, and I guess that was as a result of trying to please my mum, so that for affection and for attention, that was my way of trying to get her affection and her attention. So I was a people pleaser for most of my life. I was. I lost my voice, you know. So I remember at school when I was a child. You know, when you put your hand up and say, oh, when the teacher says, oh, do you have any questions? I dare not put my hand up. I was so scared of speaking up or anything. I just used to ask, you know, my friends next door or whatever, how do you do this, you know? So I learned I didn't have a voice growing up. I've not had a voice in my adulthood as well. So I didn't have a voice growing up. I was scared to be seen. You know, I just wanted to shrink. I played it small. I was confused because I didn't know who I was. So I used to wear these different masks, you know, a mask at school. I don't think anybody truly knows who I am, like truly knows who I am, and I don't think I've ever shown anybody who I truly am, because I wore all these different masks, because I just assumed, oh, this is the way this person wants me to be, or this is the way my teacher wants me to be, or, this is the way I act when I'm with my family, or, so I wore different masks, and that was very confusing because I didn't even know who I was. So I was a very highly sensitive, emotional, confused little girl growing up. And so my parents didn't speak to us, so we didn't have any conversations in our family. Like how, I don't know, normal kids have conversations with their fathers or their mothers. We didn't have that growing up. And to me, that felt like your opinion doesn't matter, because we weren't asked for our opinions as kids. So that to me translated to your opinions don't matter, your voice doesn't matter. Even when, we were with cousins and aunties and uncles when we used to go to my grandparents, I was in that area where, kids are seen, not heard. So, don't make a sound. You're not allowed to make a sound. You just, So that again enforced that thought in my head that, you can't make a noise, or, So I was scared to be seen in front of a crowd. I was scared to use my voice. I was scared, full stop, So, and so, like I say, that affected me deeply because of who I was as a young child and as a person. That's just who I was. I remember at school I didn't really have a lot of friends. Even now I don't really have a lot of friends. So I just used to rely on myself. I was, like I said, I was a loner. I always felt different, and I never really fitted in anywhere, into any group. I was friendly with everybody, but I just wasn't in their little groups of friends. So that's pretty much my childhood growing up. Like I said, it wasn't physical abuse. It was just, to me, it was all mental, and like I say, I don't blame my parents for any of this. Really, I think it's just how they were brought up. In their era as a child, and they probably went through something similar. How you get generational trauma that gets handed down from in the bloodline. So I think that's the reason why I went through that as a child. So I was really unsure of myself, and so I left home when I was 17. I think I left home when I was 17, and I went to live with friends. And then when I was 18, I enlisted in the army, and I got accepted. I think it was Territorial Force, TF. So that was great, because that meant that I could leave that part of me behind, and then just have this new life. So I think I was 18. I was 18 when I joined the army, and that's when I left home pretty much. And so I joined the army at 18, and it was great. I met all these different people. It was just a whole new lifestyle. It was a whole new way of life, and it was exciting, but it was also a culture shock for me, because, you know, from coming from this little country town to being in the army, and to meeting all these people, and to travelling as well, there was a huge culture shock for me, but I loved it. I love the freedom, you know, the freedom. I love the freedom. I love the friendships, and I love the fact that I could make my own money. I didn't have to rely on my parents for money and things like that. So, yeah, and I'm sorry if I don't look at you at the camera, but yeah, I just don't like looking at the camera. But yeah, so that was me, and that was me and my life during the army, and yeah, so I think that's, I just want to, because it's going on 26 minutes, and I don't want to overwhelm you with my stories, so I think I'll leave it there for the first take, or the first video, and then I'll continue with my second video, or part 2 of my story, and I'll see you then. Okay.